أسعد الله أوقاتكم بكل خير مشاهدينا الكرام أينما كنتم، أهلا ومرحبا بكم في تغطية خاصة واستثنائية لملتقى الخيول العربية الأصيلة هنا في العاصمة الإسبانية مدريد. ونحن نلتقي اليوم في أول أيام المؤتمر في ساعاته الأولى الذي ينطلق بعد لحظات من الآن. كان من المفترض أنه ينطلق خلال لحظات في تمام الساعة 10، لكن يبدو أن بعض الضيوف تأخروا ويعني لن يتأخروا طويلا. احنا إن شاء الله على موعد على البداية في تمام الساعة 10 هنا بتوقيت مدريد، لكن ربما يتأجل انطلاق المؤتمر لمدة 5 دقائق. هذه الصورة من خلفي تشرح واقع المؤتمر والملتقى الذي يحضر في العام العاشر لمهرجان سمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد للخيول العربية الأصيلة، وبالتزامن مع عام زايد. أمس شاهدنا المؤتمر الصحفي الخاص بإعلان وانطلاق هذا المؤتمر الذي تم الإعلان فيه عن الكثير من الأشياء التي تخص هذا المؤتمر وكثير من المفاجآت التي نحن ما زلنا بانتظارها في الأيام القليلة المقبلة. اليوم عندنا جلستين نقاش صباحية، جلستين نقاش مسائية. غدا نفس الموضوع، راح يكون عندنا إن شاء الله جلستين في الصباح وجلستين في المساء. في يوم 3 مايو إن شاء الله راح يكون عندنا جلستين صباحيتين فقط بإذن الله. خلينا نشوف محمد الشامسي. محمد صباح الخير. احنا على الهواء، كيف الحال؟
الله يعافيك. الله يعافيك
محمد. اليوم احنا في الملتقى العالمي للخيول العربية الأصيلة، ونتكلم عن مخرجات نبي نطلع منها. شو اللي تحاب تسمعه في هذا المؤتمر؟
أول شيء بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، نرحب بكم في قناة ياس، نرحب بالمشاهدين. بخصوص المخرجات، أنا كمدرب وكمنتج خيل عربي أنا أتمنى أن السباقات تزيد. وصلنا خبر احنا أمس أن زادت عندنا الحمد لله أشواط في العين. هذا على فكرة من مخرجات المهرجان، الميتينجز اللي كان يصير قبل. نتمنى أنه يصير تركيز يعني في أبو ظبي عندنا نبغى زيادة أشواط، لأن عندنا المضمار الوحيد العشبي في دورة الإمارات أبو ظبي للخيول العربية. نعم، فأتمنى أن تكون في زيادة أشواط هناك عندنا أكثر. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أنا ياس أشوف نتائج كبيرة ياس تصير بخصوص هذا المؤتمر، مثل زيادة الأشواط، مثل الاهتمام، مثل زيادة الجوائز عندنا في الإمارات. اللهم لك الحمد. طبعا الشكر للشيخ منصور بن زايد نهيان، الشيخة فاطمة، وكل القائمين على الكونفرنس هذا.
محمد، نتكلم عن زيادة في الأشواط. طيب، هل العدد محتاج زيادة كبيرة ولا احنا محتاجين نتدرج في الزيادة؟
والله شوفوا، طبعا ما بيك مرة واحدة انه يكون بكثرة، بس اتمنى هو شو اللي يصير عندنا نحن. انا كمدرب اسوي انتري مطلوب 16 حصان، اشوف بالانتري اشوف لك 70 راس. اتمنى يكون في كنترول على موضوع الانتاج عندنا، لان واحد يكون عنده فحل فاز مره مرتين قام لك وشبه 10 فرسات ولا 20 فرس، هني احنا نتوهق. اتمنى ان تكون في نصايح بخصوص هذا الموضوع، يكون في توجيه بخصوص هذا الموضوع، عشان لا ملاك ولا مدربين يتوهقون في موضوع الانتري. اذا انا مثلا عندي خيل انا اسوي لها انتري، بعطيك مثال، مسوي انتري حق فرس عندي انتاج الامارات 8 انتريز، مرة واحدة دخلت ريس. شو السبب؟
يعني انت حاول تدخلها 8 سباقات، شاركت في سباق واحد.
شاركت في سباق واحد، كل مرة اني انا اسوي انتريز، وطبعا الانتريز تشارج على المالك عفوا. لما تتكلم انك انت تشوف 16 راس يا مطلوب 16 و70 انتريز، مرة وصل 88. عدد مش بسيط عندنا في الامارات احنا، عشان احنا نتكلم في خيول الميدن حاليا. فأتمنى أنه يكون بس في كنترول على موضوع الإنتاج. طبعا ما تحرم صاحب الفحل من الموضوع هذا، بس مش بالكميات هذه. يعني فيها فحل موجودة مفتوحة مجانا، وما تحصل حد يشبي، تحصل واحد لا متمسك بالفحل ماله. أنا الفحل مالي فاز مرة أو مرتين أو البدقري ماله قوي، يلا خلني أشبي منه، ونتوهق نحن كمدربين في هذا الموضوع.
طيب، الزيادة هذه مقتنعين فيها ولا محتاجين بعد أكثر؟ يعني هل هذه بس أنت تقولون مرحلة أولى وإن شاء الله مرحلة ثانية نزيد عدد الأشواط؟
والله شوف، نحن دائما متعشمين خير في شيوخنا، أن دائما نحن طماعين نبى زيادة أكثر. حاليا على عدد السباقات اللي موجود حالي كلنا راضين عنه، كلنا فرحانين بسبب الزيادات اللي صارت في العين كمدربين وكملاك. نتعشم خير. الموسم اللي بعده راح تكون فيه زيادات اكثر، لان الحين احنا تقريبا في اخر 3 أو 4 مواسم نلاحظ ان في زيادات في السباقات، يعني سواء زاد عندنا مضمار العين، زادت السباقات من سنتين، وهذه السنه الجايه ان شاء الله راح يزيد عندنا كذا ميتنج. فبالعكس نحن متاملين خير ومتوقعين انها راح تكون زيادات في المواسم الجايه.
بخصوص الجوائز، يعني أنا أعرف أن أنت كمالك ومربي تحتاج الكثير من المصاريف علشان تغطي نفقات الخيل، والنفقات مش بسيطة.
صحيح. شوف، بخصوص الجوائز، إذا عندك حصان زين بيسد نفسه، أنا أتكلم بالأمانة. الجوائز ممتازة. يعني كيف اتكلم وياك؟ ان مثلا اطالب مثلا بدعم مثلا بعض الامور، ومثل الاكل وهذا، او تغذيه الخيل او مصاريف الخيل مقدور عليها الحمد لله رب العالمين. بس اروح وارد اقول لك اذا عندك حصان زين بيصرف على عمره وبيصرف على الاسطبل. اما اذا عندك حصان مثل ما اقول لك من تجي لك خيول اي كلام، هذا كيف يصرف على نفسه؟
او يشارك مره واحده من 8 مرات تحاول فيها.
ما يلحق. لا ما يلحق. لا ما يغطي. لا مثلا شاركت مره واحده الثالث، وبعدين ارد اسوي لها انتري ما تدخل الفرس. مش محصله فرصه انها تدخل. انا اكلمك على مثال واحد، انا في غيري عندهم 60 و70 راس
وعندهم مشاكل اكبر،
وعندهم اكيد مشاكل اكبر. انا اكلمك مثلا عن تقريبا يمكن راس او راسين من اللي انا مثلا محصل فيهن مشاكل. اما اللي عنده مثلا 60 و70 راس ياس يدرب، هذا الله يعينه كم مره ياس يسوي انتري.
الله يعينكم ان شاء الله. شكرا لك محمد.
مشكور يا اخوي عمر، مشكور يا اخوي.
شكرا لمحمد الشامسي المالك والمربي من دوله الامارات العربيه المتحده. نشاهد الان توافد عدد من الضيوف في هذه الاثناء مع قرب انطلاقه الجلسه الاولى اللي من المفترض انها تبتدئ في تمام الساعه 10. معظم المتحدثين وصلوا للبدايه. الساعه الان 10 و12 دقيقه، وما زلنا ننتظر انطلاقة المؤتمر. هنا على اليسار أيضا فيصل الرحماني رئيس الاتحاد الدولي للخيول العربية الأصيلة، بيكون واحد من المتحدثين. صباح الخير، كيف الحال؟
كيف الحال؟ الله يسلمك.
الله يبشرك بالخير.
خير والنور. هاي بشارة شفناك.
والله البشارة اللي جات أمس الملاك والمدربين.
الحمد لله، هذا فضل الله ثم فضل الشيخ منصور. الشيخ منصور دائما يعني كان يعني كريم علينا نحن في نادي العين، دائما يعني يدعمنا في اي شيء نطلبه. صراحه انا الحين 4 سنة لي، الحمد لله ما طلبنا شيء من الشيخ دعم للمواطنين وللامارات انه يقصر. وهذا يعني هاي الشوطين او هاي الحفلتين الزياده اللي بعد كاس دبي العالمي اعتقد بتسوي امباكت كبير في السوق، وان شاء الله ان يعود الدعم هذا على المربين والملاك في دوله الامارات.
جميل. احنا نعرف دائما ان كل ما قلتوا شيء للشيخ منصور او طلبتوا شيء من الشيخ منصور قال تم. اعتمد. طيب خلينا نروح للمؤتمر. اليوم عندك جلسه؟
اليوم عندنا جلسه افتتاحيه للمؤتمر، ان شاء الله نتمنى من كل الحضور وكل اللي في اللي يو من كل العالم نستفيدون من المؤتمر هذا، لان فعلا خبراء العالم كلهم متواجدين.
أتمنى لكم التوفيق.
الله يسلمك. الله يسلمك عمر.
شكرا للسيد فيصل الرحماني رئيس الاتحاد الدولي للخيول العربية الأصيلة. الآن أستمع إلى السيد ديريك تومسون وهو يطلب من الحضور الجلوس على أمل أن يبتدي المؤتمر بإذن الله في تمام الساعة 10:15. كان من المفترض أن يبتدي قبل ربع ساعة من الآن، لكن لم تسنح الفرصة. المتحدثين معظمهم موجود. السيدة لارا صوايا مدير تنفيذي لمهرجان سمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد للخيول العربية الأصيلة موجودة، وسعادة السفيرة الدكتورة حصة العتيبة سفيرة دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة هنا في المملكة الإسبانية أيضا موجودة. الدكتور عبد الله الرئيسي مدير عام الارشيف الوطني متواجد وحاضر في هذه الأثناء، والضيوف يدخلون في هذه الأثناء لانطلاقة إعلان المؤتمر. أعتقد أن السيد ديريك تومسون الآن على وشك إعلان بداية المؤتمر. سنذهب لمتابعة هذا المؤتمر في بداية الصباحية، ومن ثم نعود بعد نهاية الجلستين الأولى والثانية. ابقوا معنا.
You have any question? So we're live at the moment. Just waiting for my microphone. Who has got Tomo's microphone? That is smashing. You all know Morhaf, he is the official photographer, so, you know, he will be taking photos. Won't you? Yes. Some of them will be in focus, but the majority won't.
سيركز بالنسبة للأغلبية على
Yes, so those of you on the panel, do come across here, get yourself rigged, get your microphone ready. Anybody on the first panel, do come over here. So at this moment in time, we are live on Yes in the studio next door.
على الهواء، وسيتكلم شخص أو شخصين وبعد ذلك يأتي البث المباشر، وأيضا ستكون هناك بعض الكلمات باللغة الإسبانية. وبالنسبة لأولئك الذين يحضرون كل الجلسات سيكون هناك رابطة جيدة بينهم، ولكن كي يحصل الأشخاص على مثل هذه المميزات عليهم أن يحضروا كل الجلسات. ديريك.
No, he isn't good job. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to what promises to be
أهلا بكم. لقد وعدناكم بأن يكون هذا الأسبوع غير معقول وغير مصدق، وأنا سأقول لكم أن هذا المكان جيد جدا، لأن فريق كرة القدم لريال مدريد انتصر وكانت له ليلة رائعة، وبعد ذلك انتقل إلى الدور قبل النهائي. ولكن نحن الآن هنا في سباق الخيول وحول الخيول، هناك أكثر من 80 دولة جاءوا إلى هذا المحفل الكبير ليتناقشوا حول الخيول العربية الأصيلة وكيف يربونها وكل الشؤون المتعلقة بها. لدينا عدد من الجلسات على مدار الأيام الثلاثة القادمة بشأن سباقات الخيول، وأيضا في إشبيلية، وبعد ذلك في يوم الأحد مساء ستكون لنا جلسة موسعة، وكل السيدات المدعوات موجودة هنا، وأيضا صاحبة السعادة سفيرة دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة في إسبانيا موجودة، فتفضلي يا صاحبة السعادة سفيرة دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة. شكرا لحضوركم صباح هذا اليوم، إنه لمن دواعي السرور أن تتواجدي هنا. In the name of Allah, in the name of Allah.
Compasivo y misericordioso. Señoras y señores, En primer lugar, quisiera agradecer a su Alteza Sheikh Mansoor bin Zayed.
السيدات والسادة المحترمين، أود في بداية الأمر أن أتوجه بالشكر الجزيل لمعالي الشيخ منصور ولوزير الخارجية في الإمارات، وذلك من أجل تطوير العمل بالنسبة أيضا للنساء وبالنسبة لمجمع النساء والأطفال، ولإعطائهم الفرصة إياي لأشاطركم في عملية افتتاح هذا المنتدى الخاص بسباقات الخيول العربية. وأود أن أتوجه بالشكر إلى السيدة لارا سوايا لترأسها لهذا المحفل الخاص بالتنظيم الرائع تحت رعاية صاحب السمو الشيخ منصور. إن هذا المنتدى أطلق لأول مرة عام 2009 تحت رعاية معالي الشيخ منصور ابن زايد وبالتعاون مع المجلس الرياضي لأبي ظبي. هذا العام هو عام خاص بالنسبة للفرس العربي وتحت رعاية دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة التي تحتفل بمرور 10 سنوات على تأسيسه. فرحمة الله على مؤسس دولة الإمارات العربية الشيخ زايد، وقد رعى كل هذه منذ البداية. الشيخ بن زايد سلطان بن نهيان كان الأول الذي وضع أسس هذه الرياضة في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة. وبالنسبة للخيول العربية في مرحلة مبكرة حيث جرى التخصص في الخيول العربية، وأيضا وذلك من عام 1994. وبفضل هذا المستوى الرفيع فإن الخيول العربية دخلت في مجال السباقات الدولية واستحالت إلى موضوع في غاية الأهمية بالنسبة لمربي الخيول والمسؤولين عن السباقات. ونحن الآن نحتفل بمرور 100 عام على مولد الشيخ زايد وتحت رعايته. لقد كانت إسبانيا هي الدولة التي اخترناها لعقد هذا المهرجان، وهو المثال الذي يعكس وشائج العلاقات والصداقة بين دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة وإسبانيا ومملكة إسبانيا. وقد اعتبرها ولا تزال تقدمات كبيرة في جميع المجالات السياسية والعسكرية والتجارية والاجتماعية. وبالنسبة للشعب العربي فالفرس رمز للمقاومة وللنبل وللحسن والجمال، وكل هذا موجود في ضمير وثقافة شعوبنا. وشكرا جزيلا لكل حضراتكم.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much.
رائع شكرا جزيلا. وأيضا في الحقيقة وجود النساء في هذا المحفل وأيضا حول العالم. نحن على وشك أن نصل في مدريد عاصمة إسبانيا للساعة 10:30. والآن يتحدث الأمين العام. أليس هو هنا؟ وأود أن أوجه لكم الأمين العام لمجلس الرياضة في أبو ظبي. وأيضا ننتقل إلى هنا أحد الداعمين الكبار لنا وهو الأمين العام للمسؤول عن الرياضة في إمارة أبو ظبي. فليتفضل.
I'm wired today. It's very annoying, you know. Your Excellency,
أصحاب السعادة،
ladies and gentlemen,
سيداتي
it's a
سادتي،
great pleasure and honor for me
إنه لمن دواعي السرور
standing before all of you here.
والتشرف بالنسبة لي أن أتوجه هنا وأتواجد هنا وأتمنى لكم كل نجاح لمهرجان الشيخ منصور بن زايد. هذه هي كل إنجازاتنا التي كرسناها لرئيسنا ولرئيس الشيخ منصور بن زايد الذي دعمنا دعما لا نهاية له على مدار العشر سنوات المنصرمة، بل وقبل ذلك. إن شغفه بالفرس العربي ورثه عن الشيخ زايد. واليوم نحن نحتفظ ونحتفل بالذكرى العاشرة، ولكن إذا عدنا إلى مئات السنين لتاريخ الفرس العربي والخيول العربية في التاريخ نجد أنها ضاربة في أعماق التاريخ، ونحن نحتفل ونفخر بأننا جزء. ولدينا الآن 20 فرسا حازت علي صفة الفرس العربي على الصعيد العالمي، وأيضا في الحقيقة تجعل أي إنسان أن يسعد إذا ذهب لرؤية سباقات الخيول. ويحتفل هنا معنا أيضا المدربون والفرسان والمربين. وأيضا في الحقيقة هذا تاريخ طويل بالنسبة للفرس العربي، وبالتالي فأنا سعيد بالاستمرار في تضافر جهودنا لهذه القضية النبيلة، ونأمل في المستقبل أن نلتقي دائما هنا في إسبانيا في سنوات كثيرة قادمة. شكرا لكم وأتمنى لكم كل الخير.
Thank you, Doc. And later on, Doc will be
شكرا
giving us a little bit of the history
للسيد
of His
المتكلم.
Highness,
وفي الحقيقة صاحب المعالي الشيخ زايد. في الحقيقة هذا شيء رائع. وأيضا ضيفنا التالي هو الذي يرعى الخيول العربية، وصوته هو صوت صداح. وأيضا فلنرحب بفيصل الرحماني، فليتفضل.
Love the suit. Very smart.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful.
أول شيء
First of all,
دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة ورئيسها الشيخ خليفة بن زايد حفظه الله، والشيخ منصور الداعم الأكبر للخيل العربية أو المجدد للخيل العربية على مدى أكثر من 40 سنة. الاتحاد الدولي ما كان بيوصل وين وصل اليوم من غير صاحب سمو الشيخ منصور بن زايد. أتمنى من كل الحضور أن يستمتعون في الثلاث أيام هذه، ونحن كإكزيكتيف ممبر للاتحاد الدولي بنكون متواجدين ونحاول نطور في القوانين وانسيابية السباقات في العالم، وإن شاء الله.
The world, and you will enjoy your stay in this conference. Thank you.
Week for him as the new chairman of IFA. Gentleman now who is one of the big bosses of promoting Abu Dhabi overseas. Please welcome and give him a big round of applause, a man I have a lot of time for. Mubarak Al Nuaimi. He is the Director of Overseas Promotion for Abu Dhabi. Here he is. And he's the first one in the gym every morning. Good to see you. Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum.
Peace be upon you.
Really glad to be here today. We just arrived from the airport, but it's great to see you all here. On behalf of the Department of Culture and Tourism, we are so proud to see Abu Dhabi everywhere now. That's great job of the team and Lara Sawaya. So definitely this will position Abu Dhabi on the map as one of the top tourism destination. And I would like just to say great news what we did last year. We achieved more than 4,900,000 hotel guests last year. Definitely this is kind of the support of His Highness Sheikh Mansoor bin Zayed festival around the world. I would really thank His Highness Sheikh Mansoor bin Zayed and Her Highness Sheikh Fatima bin Zayed for giving us this opportunity to be part of this. And thanks to everybody, and thanks to Lara Sawai. Thank you all.
Thanks, Mubarak. See you in the gym at 6 in the morning. And our final guest to welcome us, as you can see, we have special sponsors from around the world who support us. But there's one guy who really does us proud, and he's based in Abu Dhabi, and he has built up the National Feed and Flour, and it is an outstanding way of feeding not just horses, but all sorts of animals to make them bigger, stronger, and healthier. It is Ed Hamad from National Feed and Flour. And this guy always wears a good suit.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of National Feed and Flour from Abu Dhabi, I would like to welcome you all to this great international event at the 8th World Arabian Horse Racing Forum here in this royal city of Madrid. As you are all well aware by now, this is a very special year for us. It's the year of gratitude and fulfillment to the founder of the United Arab Emirates, the late Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, may his soul rest in peace. The Sheikh Mansour Festival is nothing but a continuation of the efforts and the vision of the late Sheikh Zayed in promoting, loving, and supporting Arabian horses around the world. It has done great to all of us in combining expertise, talent, love, and interest in Arabian horses all in one room, in one conference throughout this week to share the knowledge, thoughts, ideas, and experiences to continue to promote and support this noble sport of Arabian horse racing around the world. I would like to finally thank the organizers, led by my friend Lara Sawaya, the UAE Embassy in Spain, for putting all of this together, for allowing us to share this week together, and hope that you all enjoy and benefit from the conference and have a great time here in Madrid. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Edward. So, careful. Well, we have heard so much about him, the 100th anniversary of His Highness Sheikh Zayed, but we thought we'd like to show you a little bit more and remember this great man. And who better to ask live on stage to talk us through and tell us more about His Highness Sheikh Zayed. Please welcome the National Archives Director General, Dr. Abdallah Al-Raisi. Sir.
Well, I don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, we have seen lots of achievements of His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. And everybody knows Sheikh Zayed, but they really don't know what he has done for the humanity. I'm not talking about Sheikh Zayed as a great leader only, but I'm talking about a man who cared for people. A man from day one, he thought about his people, how he will benefit his people, not himself. He gave a lot, and many of what he gave is not written anywhere. And we tried at the National Archives to find those many charities, those many good deeds by ourselves, which we did in 2 volumes of the books we published. So let's see what he did in a short journey of Sheikh Zayed's life and times and his achievements. A man, I called it a man who built a nation. Our history today is the everlasting legacy of one man's unique vision and extraordinary achievements, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan. We call him the architect of the modern UAE. So this year we are celebrating his centennial, and we look back for his achievements and the dreams he had for his country and for his people. There should be a woo. No. There is a video here. This is what I don't like about technology. He who knows not his past, he cannot
واللي ما
understand his
يذكر
future.
ماضيه ما له حاضر ولا مستقبل.
Okay. So with that saying, the first thing what he did after his accession on August 6, 1966, he ordered to establish the National Archives in 1968. At that time, nobody was thinking, what are the archives and why we should have a center for archives. He said, he who knows not his past, he cannot understand, or he cannot live his present nor future. So the history will teach us a lot, because the history is recurring and it recurs hundreds of times and thousands of times. So we should know about history, we should learn from history. So the characteristics of Zayed. So he's a noble traditions of Al Nahyan ruling family. So when you see those 2 photos, so on the left is the Zayed the Great, his grandfather, and Zayed bin Sultan, the grandson. So there are so many similarities between the 2. The one who thought about joining all the other federation under one union in 1905. And the grandson come to achieve that dream in 1971. The grandfather ruled from 1855 to 1909, 54 years. And the grandson ruled for 38 years. And he went through 3 different stages to unify or to bring unity to the United Arab Emirates. So what he did, the guy who was not himself attended the formal education. So he was pioneer in education, not only in UAE and also in the Arab world and worldwide. So his first education was, he was taught core values of Islam, rich culture, heritage of the Arabs. So he was taught by reading Quran and little arithmetic and Arabic language. So that was his education. And he was a Bedouin, a true Bedouin, through his toughness, simplicity, ideals of generosity, hospitality, common sense, justice. So he was gathering all people around him, and he was talking to them all the time. So there was a kind of open-air democracy all the time. And he had awareness of the environment at that time. He had passion for the desert, flora and fauna. So what he did, the first thing he did in Al Ain, he hired services of an engineer in agriculture. And the first thing he did, he said, I want to make this desert, barren desert, into a green city. How can I do it? So the first thing he did, he planted palm trees, and then he built roads around them. and he did not allow anybody to cut any tree at any time. Even if you want to make a road there, you cannot cut the tree. And one of his characteristics also, he was good at horse riding, of course. He had a lot of passion for horses and other sports also. He was also performing falconry. He had also badminton, billiard, bowling, so he played many sports. And he was, although he didn't have formal education, but he taught himself through a lot of gatherings, a lot of readings, just observing the nature, what he can do. So he had many traits. If you see on the left side of the photo, you see this, he's among his people in the desert. He's always contemplating what he can do, how he can change this desert into a green oasis. So I summarized his life achievements in 3 different stages. One in Al Ain, when he was appointed as the ruler representative of his brother Sheikh, who was the ruler of Abu Dhabi. So he was appointed in 1946 and he ruled there until 1966 as a ruler representative in Al Ain. So, as I said, the first 2 things that he did, it was about agriculture and irrigation, because there was a lack of water there. So first thing he did, he rebuilt the wells, which we call Aflaj in Al Ain, in 1951 and 1954, when Julian Walker, this British political resident, was there. He invited him to come and see how he can change the city. So his great saying said, "Give me cultivation and I assure you of civilization." So agriculture to protect the environment. And then he had free and equitable distribution of water, rehabilitate the ancient canals, Aflaj, and dig new ones. So water was very important. Today we are talking about water and water resources and the lack of water, and countries are fighting against each other because of water. So he knew that in 1946, the importance of water for the people, because the people, the Bedouins, they were searching for water. So he provided water. You know how he provided water, how dug these canals, what call it the Aflaj. He didn't have money to do that. He put his wife's jewelry as a guarantee for a loan. Then when he found fresh water, and then he gave to his people later on, and he sold some of them. So people then found some money because the farmers got some revenue, and then he took back, he paid his loan just to build that agriculture and to build that city and to rebuild the Aflaj, which his father started. So the first trip of Sheikh Zayed in 1950s spared his dreams. So he went to London, he went to Switzerland, he went to USA in 1957, and when he saw skyscrapers of New York, he said to one of his followers, he said, "I will make Abu Dhabi like this city." And everybody, laughed. He said, "Ha, this desert becomes like this." He said, "Believe me, I have a dream to do it, and I will do it." So that was in 1957. Few years later, when we talk about 1, 2, 3 decades, it's nothing. So in Al Ain, what he did, so he provided water, medical care, education, and other social welfare systems. So there was the 3 mandate of Sheikh Zayed in Al Ain. So that was the pre-oil era. And at that time, the British political agents, they saw him that there is a political figure coming to the scene in the Arabian Gulf. And that guy is Sheikh Zayed. One of the political agents, his name is Archie Lamp, and then later on James Treadwell. They wrote to Her Majesty the Queen that there is a very important political figure is coming up very fast into the scene, political scene, and we should support him. So during his reign in Al-Ain, he had some kind of tribal diplomacy and administration. So he was always consulting with his people, always, with anyone, talking to people. That was we call it the open desert diplomacy. So always asking them what you need, how we can improve this, how we can improve that. So he was a man of his true, real man of his people. Then in 1966, he becomes ruler of Abu Dhabi until 1970. And in Abu Dhabi, of course, he opened the first school, also Al-Falahiyya in Abu Dhabi. So he became ruler on 6th of August. That was the accession day. So what he did as a new ruler, transitioned from desert sheikh to ruler of an oil-rich emirate. So you know, in beginning of 60s, so that was the oil production. And then he started using that money. Can you believe that he spent 80% of that oil revenue into 4 things: education, medical services, electricity and water, and road construction. And he wanted to do everything in 1 year, and the British political agents told him, Sheikh Zayed, you are spending all your money on, and you don't have anything for anybody left. He said, I don't care. I want this to happen. So, and they told him, but you need to do it steadily. You should have a plan. So he invited a consultancy firm from London, and they started working on Abu Dhabi Plan 1967. We are talking today about strategic planning. This guy, he started it in 1967, not today. Look what kind of visionary man he was. So the colossal wealth used to transform a tribal settlement into a modern metropolis without losing grip over the age-old historical and true Arab Islamic traditions. So whatever he did, and he brought all the Western values, and you know, all these nationalities come to UAE, still that his Islamic beliefs and thoughts and everything, and the values of UAE people, still until today is there. Can you help me? Oh. So this is the development of Abu Dhabi. It's shaping now. On the right, that man is still alive. He's Egyptian. He was brought from United Nations to help plan Abu Dhabi in 1967. And he was on the top of every single project himself, either oil, either urban development, even medical services. He was there from morning, 5 o'clock, he prays, he goes, takes his car, and he goes to all projects by himself, supervising and making sure that all these plans are executed on time. If not executed on time, you are not there anymore. You will lose your job. Make sure that these medical services, these hospitals, these schools, these bridges, roads are constructed on time. And the education, of course, this is Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed and his son. So someone who is not educated himself, he didn't have formal education, he believes in education. And he wants his people to be educated because he believes that education is everything. You can give your son millions, but if you don't equip him with education, he's going to spend all these millions in no time. So he really believed in education, and we see now many Emiratis everywhere. They are excelling in every aspect of life. Unique concept of leadership, practical idealist with a humanities approach to statecraft. and personal diplomacy, people's participation in government. First consultative, like a parliament of Abu Dhabi, was in 1971, and he formed that. He believed, that diplomacy which was in the desert now, it becomes in the, in the buildings, and it's a formal one now. So everything is shaping. And he was the first one to open a school for girls in Abu Dhabi, with the support of his wife, Her Highness Sheikh Fatima. And Sheikh Fatima is the one, the driving force for the education and improvement and empowerment of ladies in the United Arab Emirates. And Sheikh Zayed was a big supporter of her. So now, he was thinking now about unifying all the other emirates, because he believed that without unity, we will be weak. And not in 1971 he started that. It started in 1950s when he was talking to ruler of Dubai, Sheikh Rashid, and they were having very private meetings talking about the federation. So the dream of the grandfather in 1905 now it becomes true in 1971. But he used to travel from Abu Dhabi, from Al Ain to Sharjah, to Fujairah, other states, meeting the other rulers to talk about the federation. He even included Qatar and Bahrain into it, and they had so many discussions from 1968 until 1971, when Qatar and Bahrain pulled out, although there was a constitution which had been signed by all of these, including Bahrain and Qatar, and then there were some differences in who will take that seat and who will take the seat, and there were so many political issues, differences. So then Sheikh Zayed decided to form a federation of 7, but before that, in 1968, also on February 18, he had a unity between Dubai and Abu Dhabi, because he thought that long time he's talking about this federation and he's traveling from one place to another. Sometimes he was sleeping in the desert overnight in his Land Rover to reach to other Emirates. There were no roads. They were all in the desert. And he was sleeping in the desert. Just, he wants to fulfill his dream of unity, because he believed in it. He said, without unity, will be easy to be eaten up by anyone in the world. And the world is changing. So he had the first union with Dubai, Abu Dhabi and Dubai agreement. That was in 68, was Sheikh Rashid. And then the two, they worked together to form the United Arab Emirates later on. And that was in the Union House in Dubai, where they hosted the flag in 1971. And as you see, as a founding president of the UAE, he started, funding other, emirates from his budget, from his own pocket, just to make this union strong in all aspects, in education, medical services, diplomacy, all other services. And that dream of 1957, making Abu Dhabi a city like New York, so that came true, in 1990s, we have seen that Abu Dhabi is shaping like New York. And today we see now what we see today, that it not only is a place for entertainment and a place for sports and a place for, but it's a place for peace and harmony and unity. So all these characteristics which we saw of Zayed, that believe in education, believing in creating a city or creating a federation, creating a country based on tolerance, based on peace, more than 200 nationalities living in different emirates, but all of them, you know, they are living there peacefully and with tolerance. So we don't see, you know, there are problems, or there is somebody is racist, or somebody talking about this nationality is different than that nationality, or treated differently. So everybody is living in peace and harmony, and that is what Sheikh Zayed had in mind, and it was his dream at that time to create this state. This United Arab Emirates is based on peace and harmony. So now today we say UAE, an oasis of peace and harmony. So we have Minister of Peace, we have Minister of Happiness, we have Minister of Tolerance. So it's not just because we needed to have someone, you know, to say that he's a Minister of Tolerance or Minister of Happiness. That is the usual thing, that it was out of the plan that Sheikh Zayed planted long time ago. But Minister of Tolerance, because it is really, there is tolerance. So we need someone, you know, to be organizing this concept of tolerance, you know. We have visited the Vatican. Last year we have visited, you know, we have temples, we have churches, we have mosques, we have all kind, you know, of religions living in one place. So that cannot be achieved without a clear vision of the leadership of the country. And this legacy continues. Now, when Sheikh Zayed left us in 2004, so the whole UAE and the Arab world and the entire world, because his humanitarian aids went to all over the world. And when we discovered in 2 books that we published, A Man Who Built a Nation, and before that, another book, From Challenges to Union, we discovered that nowhere is written that what he did in Africa, fighting with Jimmy Carter about guinea worm, which killed millions in Africa, and he helped Jimmy Carter and others working on this cause to eradicate this kind of disease, and he saved millions of lives in Africa. We couldn't. There was nothing that we knew about it. And then through the interviews that we did with many leaders of the countries, we came to know that he did many things, disasters everywhere, he funded by himself. He wanted to avoid many wars today that we see, especially in Iraq, when he advised Saddam to come to UAE, invited him to come to UAE, live in UAE and avoid his people this war, which will have many consequences later on the entire Arab world and the world in general. And he didn't listen to him. And he was a leader that he had a great vision, and he had a passion for something called humanity. He was a true human being, that he loved people. That's why God rewarded him with the love of his people. Even when he's not here today with us, but his spirit is with us. His soul is with us. Every corner, everyone. Our grandchildren, they haven't seen Sheikh Zayed, but they say Baba Zayed. Why? Because they saw that everything he did is there. Some of them, they are iconic. You see them, and you know, in front of you, like these buildings, like roads, medical services. But some you don't see. The love for people that UAE, that Emiratis, when they meet someone, you feel, I'm not bragging here, you feel that he's very close to you. And when you talk to anyone in UAE, either UAE or other citizens or expat, everybody's living UAE. We love to be with people, living in peace and harmony, because at the end, this is the only thing which will remain. I'm talking about the external relations of Sheikh Zayed, of course, with UK, in the Arab world. So many visits here and there. You know, it's the vision today. You know, today Emiratis can travel to more than how many 100+ countries without visa. Why? You should ask why. Why these countries, they don't ask visa from us to go there? This is what Sheikh Zayed did. Humanism and charity. Look, all of these charities, this is some of these. This is nothing. Just this, only the slide can take. But there are, believe me, there are tens of thousands of projects everywhere in the world. Everywhere. Awards, he never looked. I'm sure that, look, all of these awards he received, and we have hundreds and thousands of awards in our archives. I don't think he has seen none of them. Maybe he has seen few, but thousands he did not see. He has been awarded, but he did not see because he never looked for awards. He never looked for anyone to thank him for what he did. He was a pure guy, you know. He was, inside him, he's a real human being, a true human being. And I say the legacy continues under his able successors, Sheikh Khalifa, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and his sons, Sheikh Zayed. They are all following the same path, exactly. Same guidance, same thing, you know. If you look into, when you have a strategic planning, you have all these values and projects and, you know, everything that you want, that you planned. Sheikh Zayed planned it from 1946, and you say there is 5-year plan, 10 years plan, 2030, 2021. We have 2021 government plan, we have 2030 Abu Dhabi plan, Abu Dhabi vision. But Sheikh Zayed, in each of them, all of these plans, even if you think about 3,000, still all those values or all those strategic planning which he had in mind is still there in every plan, you see. So it's unbelievable visionary man. When the British came to the oil rigs came, the oil company said, we want to dig here, there is an oil. He took his stick, his cane, on the sand, and he just planted his cane, and he said, don't dig, there is no oil here. They said, Your Highness, how you know? We need to go like 12 meters or 20, 30 meters down to see if there is oil. He said, there is no oil here. You go ahead, dig. And they go and dig, there is no oil. And he tells them, dig here, there is oil. So they dig, there is oil. He was not taught. He didn't attend Harvard. You know, he didn't go to MIT. But he had that sense, that vision. You know, today they are teaching his vision and his diplomacy at Harvard. I reviewed the curriculum last year. Today they are teaching Zayed's diplomacy at Harvard. And there is another university, they approached me this year about how he built his nation. You know, this a man of strategic planning, that he didn't attend any school, any formal education, and he has given the world this unique country. So we all proud of these achievements, not only as Emirati, everybody lives in UAE, and everybody comes to UAE. This is what Sheikh Zayed told us. And listen to what he says here.
الرجال هي اللي تصنع المصانع، الرجال هي اللي تصنع سعادة الرجال.
Men are those who manufacture their future. They construct their future, not factories, but men.
Because what he said, this is for everybody. wherever you are, you are dealing with human beings, you are dealing with human resources, that the people who make factories, the people who make their lives, the people themselves who make themselves happy. So we have to build the human resources, the human capital, in order to succeed. It's not anything else. When you are leading a company, without human resources, you cannot do anything. So it's very important to take care of people. Here in this conference, without trainers, without owners, without jockeys, there will be no conference, there will be no festival. So wherever you are, and I learned a lot being as a director of National Archives. Every day I'm living with the archives of Sheikh Zayed, and I read. Every day I read in these archives, I find something new. That helps me in my leadership of the organization. How to take care of my staff, how to be equal with everyone, because all of them, they are the same to me. Because you should think of that. Because without trainers, without jockeys, there won't be. Without horses, you don't need trainer. You don't need jockeys. You don't need owners. Without owners, you have no money to buy. So it's all complementing each other. So that is the values that Sheikh Zayed told us. That is the values that Sheikh Zayed inserted into all of us. Today we are here talking about horses because of this man, because his love and passion for horses, because he believed in horses. And when Sheikh Khalifa got married, he was on his horseback, and he attended the wedding on the horses in a lane under Jabal Hafid, and he was riding his horse there, and then he started receiving the guests there, and the whole tent were surrounded by horses. So you should be proud of the UAE President Sheikh Zayed, inviting his guests and receiving them were surrounded by horses. And then Sheikh Khalifa, the current leader, his wedding was full of horses. Thank you very much.
Dr. Abdullah Al-Raisi. Absolutely outstanding. Sir, come on, big round of applause. That was wonderful. Can I shake your hand? That was superb.
Thank you.
And you didn't even have a script. How does he remember that? That is amazing. Well, we're now ready to start our first session. And this is all about breeding. How do you breed a faster horse, a stronger horse, a fitter horse, whatever? So could we please have our new delegates live on stage, please? You have got your allotted seats, so would you please join us on stage? We've got Khalid Al-Nabouda from the UAE, Emmanuel Sesek from France, Mohammed Karamine from Morocco, Garrett Ford from the United States of America, Val Bunting from England/France, Lynn Bennett from the United States of America, Richard Lancaster from the United Kingdom, Dr. Andrew Dalgleish, Scotland, and Ahmed Al-Balushi from Oman. Do come and join us. Do take your seats. Your names are here. So the first one will be Tomo, and if you'd just like to sit down here, Khalid, well done. So number 1 is Khalid, number 2 is Val Bunting. 2. Yeah, wrong seat. This is going to be good. Swap over if you wouldn't mind. Thank you, Emmanuel. So Val Bunting, number 2.
Do I have to turn this on?
Yes, you just have. Well done. This is good stuff. Well done, big fellow. So Emmanuel is number 3. Mohammed Karamine, number 4. Garrett Ford is 5. We have Richard Lancaster, 6. 7 is Dr. Andrew. And 8, Lynn. Lynn is wonderful. I'll tell you about Lynn very soon, but she caught a fish in the Pacific Ocean. One of the biggest fishes ever caught.
Turn this on?
Yeah, it's on. Don't worry. We can hear you. Who are we missing?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel Sesak from France. Ah, you're there. Well done.
Is this on? No, I think.
No, il n'est pas là, Sesak.
I can't see.
He's not here now.
He's not
Sesak.
here. Okay. Right. Emmanuel Sesak is not here. So would you all like to move up one? Everybody move up one, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
حديث هام جدا للمولدين من داخل الدولة، وأيضا سنستمع إلى مزرعة شادول لسمو الشيخ حمد بن راشد الذي ربما سنتعرف من خلاله الكثير عن التوليد وعن الطويق تحديدا، دخول دم الطويق في يعني في التوليد بالنسبة لمزرعة شادول. بالنسبة للخيول العربية الأصيلة، نعرف أن سمو الشيخ حمد بن راشد واحد من أكبر المولدين على مستوى العالم، ومزرعة شادول هي من أفضل المزارع التي تقتني السلالات النقية العربية الأصيلة. لذلك ربما يكون هناك نقاش ثري جدا يجمع الأخوة المحاضرين في هذا الصباح مع انطلاقة الجلسة. هناك مقعد فاضي، مقعد واحد فاضي، ربما يكون هذا المقعد شاغر حتى إشعار آخر لحين انطلاق الجلسة. أشاهد معظم المتحدثين قد تواجدوا في هذه الأثناء، وأشاهد كل من له علاقة يبقى في مكانه لمتابعة الجلسة، المترجمين، الأجهزة، كل شيء على ما يرام. وربما نعرف أن الدول المشاركة في هذا المهرجان عدد كبير من كافة المنتسبين إلى الخيول العربية الأصيلة. الآن سنذهب مرة أخرى إلى الاستماع إلى الجلسة الثانية أو الجلسة النقاشية الأولى في هذا الملتقى بعنوان التوليد. إلى هناك.
We'll be starting in 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I need earphones. He's getting it now.
Everybody happy? Yes. We're just getting you some earphones. Anybody else not got headphones? You're okay? Good.
Okay. I have hearing aids.
I have my headphones.
Okay, can I put it over there?
Everybody happy? You've all got your headphones? Just putting them on. You know, if somebody speaks in a different language, the translators will translate. Now remember, any questions you have, please at the end put your hand up and we'll come and ask a question to all these experts. And this is an absolutely star-studded lineup. This is incredible. Abdullah was outstanding, wasn't he? Wonderful. Wonderful. I think we'll start. I think we should all move up. Could everybody just move up a little bit? And if the gentleman does come, we'll put him at the end. Everybody come up one. Come up one. Big fella, come up one. Mohammed, would you move up?
He's coming now, he's coming now.
Oh, he's coming now. Oh, you are a star. Thanks, big fella. This will go on for an hour and a half. Then we're going to have lunch and a relax, and then we'll start again. So we're ahead of the clock, as we always are at the Sheikh Mansour Festival. Remember, take photos and send them around the world at Sheikh Mansour Festival. These pictures are going live on Yaz TV and, of course, on the Sheikh Mansour Festival website. And well done, guys, for getting here nice and early. I do appreciate it. Well done. And well done to the Emirates girls. Should we give the Emirates girls a big round of applause? Aren't they doing well? You look beautiful as always. Super. And if anybody gets too hot on the stage, all the Emirates girls do is flick their eyelashes and they have a nice cool. Well, I'm going to give the guy 2 minutes. If not, we'll start. Guys, we're ready whenever you are. I'm just waiting for the go from my director in my ear. And as soon as he says go, we're off and running. Enjoyed the football last night? It was very good. It was a great match. I hear he is, Omar. I cannot hear him at the moment, but I hope he's going to say, Tomo, over to you any second.
قد أعلنت في وقت سابق بأنها ستضطر إلى تقديم موعد الجلسة الأولى من أجل إفساح المجال أكثر لموضوع التوليد من أجل إعطاء أيضا فرصة للنقاش في نهاية الموضوع. هناك متحدث واحد والآن نشاهد أن الأخوة المنظمين يطلبون من الحضور الدخول إلى قاعة المؤتمر. أعتقد أن المؤتمر راح يبتدي خلال اللحظات القادمة، وأعتقد أن في عدد كبير من المتواجدين في هذه القاعة بإمكانهم الحديث عن موضوع التوليد. محمد صباح الخير. محمد نعيمي زميلنا وأخونا في قناة ياس موجود في هذه القاعة أيضا شاهد. خلينا نروح نشوف الإخوان من دولة الإمارات. صباح الخير. أهلا مرحبا. احنا على الهواء. كيف الحال؟
بخير الله يسلمك.
وين راحوا الشباب؟
والله شردتهم انت. كيف الحال؟ خافوا عليه.
كيف الحال؟
الحمد لله رب العالمين.
زين، خليني اسالك عن الجلسات النقاشيه، ايش تنتظرون من المؤتمر في هذه السنه؟ وخلينا نتكلم بشكل عام، هل هناك فوائد تنتظرونها خصوصا بعد نهايه المؤتمر؟
والله اكثر الشباب الحين نسمعهم، يعني في اشياء تكلمنا عنها العام اللي في مال المغرب، اجتماع المغرب. في اشياء تحققت، في اشياء تغيرت، في اشياء جديده يتكلمون عنها. بعدنا يعني ما عندنا فكره عنها شو المواضيع الاشياء الجديده.
عندنا التوليد بعد شوي.
التوليد نفسه كله نعم، في اشياء يعني وايد في نقل يعني نوعية جيدة يعني للأفضل طبعا. نعم للأفضل. كل الأشياء هاي تبني للأفضل يعني.
ما بنسمع منك شيء اليوم كمتحدث أو بكرة؟
والله خلنا نسمع منهم شوي نطالع ونقدر نقول لك عقب شو الأشياء اللي هي سمعناها العام ونجز السنة.
الله يوفقكم
جميعا حبيبي جزاك الله خير.
شكرا. إذا مشاهدينا الكرام ما زلنا متواصلين في التغطية. سنذهب الآن لمتابعة أحداث ووقائع الجلسة الأولى. إلى هناك.
Yes, welcome back. We're live in Madrid, and this is going to be our first session. It's all about breeding. How do we breed something faster, better, quicker, and win all the races? Can I introduce you, first of all, to our panel that we have, and it really is a star-studded panel. On my left, representing the United Arab Emirates, the former champion owner and champion breeder. Big round of applause for Khalid Al Nabouda. On his left, another top man. This one comes from Oman, another top owner and breeder, one of the famous names in Oman, Ahmed Al Balushi. Our first lady is the lady from England, but she now resides in France, top breeder and an international bloodstock agent. It is Val Bunting. Next one we have comes from Morocco. He is one of the top breeders there, and I'm pleased to welcome Mohamed Karamain. Well done, sir. After that, we have a gentleman who's come from the United States of America. This guy is really doing great things. He's been breeding horses for 5 years, and also he invented the best horseshoe in the world. More about that later. Big round of applause for Garrett Ford. Next to him is one of the most important men in the world of Arabian horses. He looks after Shadwell Stud. He's the managing director. And of course, the man who owns Shadwell Stud is His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum. Please welcome Richard Lancaster. The gentleman on his left, the good-looking fellow with the white hair and the glasses, is one of our top vets. He looks after so many horses, and he represents the Al Wathma Stud. Please welcome from Scotland, Dr. Andrew Dalgleish. And the lady on the end is the lady who won a Dali a few weeks ago when we were live for the Sheikh Mansour Festival in Hollywood. She's just got into breeding these horses, but she's an outstanding lady, a very, very successful businesswoman, and we're very pleased to welcome her from the United States of America, Lynn Bennett. So how do you start? What's the question that you would like to ask?
Monsieur Sesek est là. Monsieur Sesek.
Who? Oh, he's here, Mr. Sesek. Well done. Hello. Well done. What time do you call this? Just the time. Don't worry. Jump in at the far end. We'll get you a chair. Please welcome the man who's arrived late, but he's worth waiting for because he is one of the biggest breeders and international agents in the world. Please welcome Emmanuel Sesek. There he is. We're getting you a seat. So while they do that at that end, we're going to start this end. I'm going to go along here. My first question is, and we have breeders from all over the world, so how do they do it? How do they breed a horse to be a future champion? And we might get differing views here. Let's start, Khalid Al Nabouda from the United Arab Emirates. How do you breed a future champion?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I would like to thank His Highness Sheikh Mansoor Al Maktoum and Her Highness Sheikh Fatma bint Mubarak and Laris Hawaya with all her team, plus all the sponsor for this conference. To breed race horse, you need to be knowing what you are doing. You need to choose the right mare or the right stallion. You need to raise them up properly, the foals. You need to have proper program and to look after them very well, plus luck.
Luck. And the harder you work, the luckier you get. But how do you do it in Oman? How do you breed a future champion? What are your thoughts?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بداية أشكر القائمين In the name of God, the merciful, first of all, I want to ask all the organizers, all the sponsors. I would like to thank the United Arab Emirates and thank you for inviting us to this great forum, the great conference in which we are participating as brothers and as colleagues. Of course, breeding horses starts, first of all, from choosing a basis, and then choosing the adequate stallion and other factors like correct breeding, choosing the right places, the right feeding. And of course, we need a successful breeder, trainer, in order to train and breed the horse. And of course, like my brother Khalid, we also need luck and God's blessings, of course.
What's it like in Europe?
Well, myself personally, I like to breed from proven stock. I'd like to have a mares that's raced and been successful, and most of all, a successful stallion. And then I think you're on to something quite good. I also like to breed to stallions that have retired sound, so that you're not breeding on any weaknesses in their children. But it's very much a learning curve. We learn every day new things. Pedigree is important, conformation is important, but I do like performance as my number one. Thank you.
What about the gentleman on your left, Mohammed? You're from Morocco. What are your thoughts from your point of view in your country?
Oui, bon, cette intervention qu'en remerciant.
I'd like to thank the authorities and the organizers for being here. And I think that in order to have a stallion, to have a winner, because we don't know about it, it's very difficult to say we're going to have a winner, but of course it's a very difficult task. And I think that it's very important, breeding is very important, pedigree is very important, but we have breeding value, we have to choose all the elements to have a good stallion, and the way to raise those to have those horses. It's important to give importance to the breeding technique. It's the most difficult thing, I think, and which regards horses, it's knowing how to have the breeding value and to improve that.
Very interesting. Garrett Ford, States of America. You've heard from Europe. What's it like in the USA? What are your thoughts? How do you breed a champion?
Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be sitting on this panel with all the people I've looked up to in the sport for years. I come from a little bit different perspective. I come from the world of endurance, and I would say I'm a farrier by trade, so I have a hard time looking past horses' feet first, which might sound trivial, but I don't think it is. I start looking there, and then I think it's it's a combination of I'm a big conformation guy coming from endurance, horses that are carrying a man of my size. I like a horse that's built well, it's going to stay sound. And then what I've been doing the last 5 years is I'm a spreadsheet person. Every time I see a winner in the U.S. or a winner abroad, they go on a spreadsheet. I then start learning about pedigrees and tail female lines and stallions. And so this is just, I'm kind of on the infancy of what I've started doing, but feet first, conformation, pedigree, tail female lines, that's where I've started our 5-year program.
Interesting. Richard Lancaster, your thoughts?
Pretty much agree with what's been said already. It's selection, and it's very careful selection, the pedigree, the conformation, and the performance of the forebears. The great Bull Hancock, who was one of the most successful American breeders, Spendthrift Farm in Kentucky, talking about thoroughbreds. He based his success on those 3 principles. But of course, you can follow all those principles, but at the end of the day, you've got to have a good staff who understand horses, who care for horses, to look after these young individuals as they're nurtured through their early stages before they get to the racetrack.
Andrew, coming from Scotland, but based, of course, in the Middle East, what are your thoughts? What would you advise to breed a future champion?
Yes, well, again, I've been working in the UAE for 24 years, so it's a long time still in Scotland. Yes, I agree very much with what's been said already. You know, pedigree is very important. Confirmation is obviously very important, and you know, we have to look at the ones that the mares and the stallions that have produced results. Then also you need to follow the stallions and the mares, because sometimes some stallions produce better than they've managed to do on the racetrack themselves, maybe because they've not had the same opportunity. And we're very fortunate in our Wasp that we have so many proven mares, and we have some good stallions. And also, of course, we have the ability to use stallions from all over the world because of the ability to use assisted breeding. And this, again, is very good for the Arabian horse and for developing Arabian racing and improving the bloodlines relatively quickly.
It's interesting, our next guest, Lynn Bennett, who's only recently come into the sport, because we've got all these guys here who've been here hundreds of years and all that sort of stuff. You've only come in the past 2 years, you've already won a Darley. So what are your early impressions of how to breed a future champion?
My background is endurance, and I met Michelle Morgan through buying horses from her, and I got into racing via Michelle. And she's been an incredible mentor to me. So I'm hoping through her guidance I have a future race champion in my pasture.
Right. Well, the guy on your left is also, I would think, possibly one of the top guys in the world at producing horses. He comes from France, where he runs the Harras 2-hour stud in the south of France. Emmanuel Césac. Emmanuel, good morning. What would your advice be to breed a future champion?
Bonjour. Excusez-moi, mon anglais est trop faible pour parler.
Apologize, I don't have a good level of English. I'm going to speak French. I'd like to thank the organizers for this kind invitation, and I'd like to thank everything that's been done regarding the diversity, genetic diversity. It's very difficult to have a champion. It's always difficult. It's a big challenge. First of all, we have to consider genetic factors and the selection of a mare and a stallion. That's very important, and we have to consider physical characteristics to have a mating of a mare to a stallion that will compensate the weak items, the weak points. To have a champion, it's like winning the lottery. It depends on training, it depends on breeding characteristics, but I think it is genetic selection on the mother side, first of all, and studying conformation, and also crossing with the best stallions that will correspond to it. So I think that it is very important. I'd like to say that the genetic background is fundamental, but we have some items that are invading our things. We have to be open to mares and to have a diversity in genetics. I think that will be a step forward with the genetic improvements, and I think that we have here French blood, but we have a pure sang, we have also the thoroughbred, and I think that from next year on we'll have the best possible genetic background from Turkey. I have been working for 4 years trying to get the sperm for the best possible stallions from Turkey, and in 2019 we will propose the best 5 best stallions. They have diversification, and there is a big reservoir of diversification. They win lots of important contests every year, and I think that a Turkish contribution will be fundamental. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Very interesting.
Embryo transfer. Some traditional breeders frown upon it. What do the panel think of embryo transfers? Khalid Al Nabuda.
It's very good. I think it helped the old mares, but we need to have sort of restricting it than we are leaving it open.
What do you think in Oman about embryo transfer? Good, not good, bad? What are your thoughts?
ما في شك أن
No doubt that choosing the good breeding for procreation or reproduction, it will give you preference and the priority to produce Arabian horse, thoroughbred Arabian horse. ولكن
4 foals a year. What are your thoughts?
I don't think that's right. No, I'm not really in favour of embryo transfer unless it's for veterinary reasons. A mare cannot carry a foal, but it is being abused. That's my problem with it. It started off as a very good veterinary solution to some mares, but now there is so much abuse. They're taking embryos 5, 6 out of a mare. They're even selling them on auction, which I think is not good. It's very bad.
Interesting. What are your thoughts on embryo transfer coming from Morocco?
sur le transfert d'embryon, sur la technique de transfert d'embryon, oui, effectivement.
Yes, I think, considering an embryo transfer technique, yes, we have used these talons in such a way that we can get the best possible mares, and we can have lots of possibilities. That doesn't mean that when we have an embryo transfer we can guarantee results. We have better possibilities, but of course there are other factors that will intervene also, that will play a role. What's missing regarding embryo transfer worldwide, I'm in favor of. Yes, I'm in favor of embryo transfer, but we need rules and regulations, international rules and regulations. We're a bit lost. Internationally, authorities are lost. There are different ways of thinking. The lady is against embryo transfer. There are other countries using embryo transfers just a little bit. I think about Poland, for instance. I think that they will authorize 2 per mare, and I think that in France is limited. I think that you have 3 embryos in some countries that are allowed. We shouldn't be afraid of embryo transfers. That's a possibility nowadays, and considering that we do not have lots of mares, I think that there is a possibility of choosing the proper animals, and I think it is the breeder who's had a word to say about it, and I think that this type of forum will give food for thoughts, and I think that we have to have rules and regulations the same worldwide. In Morocco now we're using 3 embryos per mare, only 3 embryos, and I think it's better than in the case of Poland, where they can have only 2 per year, and it's better than what's happening in Tunisia, where they cannot do it, and it is worse than what's happening in France, where they have 5, 6 or 7 embryos. So I think that it depends. There are modern techniques, and it's a choice of a breeder that develops a bit better, and the only one that takes a risk is the owner. The breeder is the breeder and the owner. Those are the ones taking the risk. I do not see why authorities, or if not, we would put the blame on, for instance, artificial insemination, because I think that it is like the English code, where there is no embryo transfer, no artificial insemination. So, and I think that we have to have some common sense. It is a way to have a wealth of knowledge to improve the breed, because inbreeding is a risk. Inbreeding is a risk, and I think that we have to have the possibility, and I'd like authorities to improve embryo transfer, and it is a breeder who takes the risk. Thank you. It's very interesting.
Panel. Very interesting to listen to that. Garrett, you're listening to this. Sometimes you were nodding, sometimes you weren't. What are your thoughts from the United States of America?
Well, I think as a new breeder, one of the challenges we have in the United States is roughly 10 years ago, there was 10,000 Arabians bred in the U.S. The last couple of years, rough numbers, I think we were at 2,000. So we've dropped from 10,000 to 2,000. One of the things we need is we need horses. We need horses to race. We need more breeders. We need more owners. Because without the horses come first. Without the horses, we're not here. We're not discussing. We don't have the panels. So we need horses. So myself as a new breeder, for a new breeder like myself to compete with the people on the panel, I only have access. What my goal every year is to buy one great mare. If I can take that one great mare and I can then say, well, I don't know exactly who I'm going to breed her to, but I'm going to try 3 different combinations. So I'm able to accelerate my program, and I can see three crosses in year 1. Once those foals are on the ground, I can say this was a smart move. I'm not going to reproduce these 2. So I'm in favor in a big way. And I've used it extensively in our program, and I think it's great, and I'm going to continue in the U.S. And there's a lot of breeders in the U.S. that don't believe in it, and like I said, the challenge we have is numbers. Without numbers, we can't fill races. Without races, we don't have stakes races, and these conferences can't continue unless we add more horses.
It's very interesting, this, isn't it? Richard Lancaster, what are your thoughts after hearing from some of the best breeders in the world?
You're talking to a thoroughbred man. From what's been spoken, except I agree with Val that I'm totally opposed to it, actually, because once you start dealing with artificial methods of breeding, you get people delving further. The next thing is you'll get genetic engineering. And with the best will in the world, there are a lot of people with the best intentions about it. These things get abused, and however sort of many regulations you have, they do get abused. And so I have to say that I am totally opposed to embryo transfers.
Interesting. So that's the first one out of all these. We've got one of the top vets in the world sitting next to you. What are your thoughts on this as a veterinarian, Andrew?
Well, as I'm a veterinarian involved in breeding and also been involved in all aspects of Arabian horse racing, endurance racing, and now more in breeding. Embryo transfer is a technique I've used, and I think I support it a lot, because you can increase the number. It's basically only a system, as long as it's used purely, of increasing the number of foals from one mare in 1 year, instead of taking 3 years to produce 3 foals, and perhaps something may happen to the mare in the meantime, and you may not get any more foals. You get 3. You can use different. You can choose, as the gentleman said, about different stallions, and then you can see which breeding produces the best for you. And people are worried about having horses, full siblings in the same race, but often you have a 3-year-old and 4-year-old in Arabian racing, or a 5-year-old, all with exactly the same breeding. And I don't think it's a big problem. I think what's more a problem in some places where there's one stallion that's dominant, and you find in the same race 6 or 7 offspring of that stallion. But I think I totally support the technique, and as long as it's used properly, it's very, very good to me. to increase, to get the maximum potential from your mare and also show the ability of your stallion.
Interesting, and that comes from a veterinarian. And you come from America. Are you agreeing with the American gentleman, or do you think it's good or bad? What are your thoughts?
I'm very much for it. I've seen what Garrett has produced, and it's intriguing to me.
Yeah, and the guy at the end, this is the man I'm looking forward to hearing from. Emmanuel, what are your thoughts on this embryo transfer? You're one of the biggest breeders in the world.
Alors, la question du transfert d'embryon m'est assez souvent et régulièrement posée, puisque dans le haras que je dirige, nous fabriquons à peu près plus de 120 embryons par an, et essentiellement avec des génitrices, des juments donc sélectionnées et qui ont un potentiel génétique très fort. Je voudrais poser la question suivante. Si l'insémination artificielle en semences congelées...
Artificial insemination has helped some stallion record 2,000 products in the Arab countries. I would find it sorry that a mare should only have 15 foals in her productive life, because I think that mares should be even more genetically improved, and the technicity of embryo transfer allows for genetic progress, because the best mares will have more foals, female foals, and multiply their genetic potential. However, this technique is especially for mares that cannot have more foals, but is used for younger foals so that they can be tested with different stallions. Last week in France, we had a first race of 3-year mares. This race was won by a female, which is a product of embryo transfer, and the second is also a mare, which is also the product of embryo transfer. So with a young mare, you can accelerate genetic tests to see with what the stallions the performance is increased. So as a technician, specialist in embryo transfer who has a passion for Arab horses, I think that this technique is very good to have as many female horses as possible, and to also improve the genetic potential.
I'm going to ask you, because you're here, do you think embryo transfer is good? Put your hands up. Let's just take a straw poll. Okay. Who thinks embryo transfer is not good? Right. Well, what do you think, guys? 50-50. It's pretty 50-50, isn't it? Now, that is interesting. So I know you're going to be asking questions about this later on. You're going to choose the person you want to. So think of something like that as we have the questions later on. My next question is this. This could be interesting, but I want to ask it. Is there a need for IFRA to provide clarity, because there are still 1 or 2 stallions whose progeny are open to question in the international forum? Khalid Al-Nabuda.
We have WAHO, who normally prove, and they have their own rules for all Arabians. And if there is any questions, I believe we should ask the mother who produced the passport, who prove those horses, if they are Arabian or they have any question mark. So I think over there we should go.
Okay, that's interesting. What are your thoughts from Oman?
We are speaking genetic transfer, embryo transfer. Undoubtedly sure, the international organization should take in consideration all criteria to introduce any genetic races, because we are in 2018 and the Arabian horses became well known, and the equestrian street knows this breeding, and there should be some precautions when we take some decision regarding the races we have. I support the decision, the international decision, to be, when is executed, to be taken through all members in all organizations.
You mentioned EFAR, but we start with the registration of the horse. Every horse racing should be fully registered in the WAHO stud book. It's up to each country's racing authority to check that everything is correct with that horse. Sometimes this doesn't happen, we have found in the last couple of years. Where EFAR is concerned, they have produced an international agreement. I was instrumental in helping to make the registration side of that agreement. And so all the countries can sign up to it, but each individual country can make their own rule on the racing, but the registration of the horse has to be paramount.
Right. What's it like in Morocco?
Au Maroc, moi je pense que il est...
In Morocco, I think that we are very serious when it comes to the recording. We have very competent authorities, and I think that we are really pioneers in the world. We are really at top level. It is much more difficult to record a horse in Morocco than a child, so it is very strict. I'm not sure whether I've answered your question, if that was a question. Oui, c'était très...
That. Now, come on, Mr. Garrett from the United States of America. What do you think?
Well, that's a tough question. One of the interesting things for me is a new person to this sport is, you know, from the very start of myself getting into this, I've always heard, you know, there's always horses that may be of questionable pedigree, and for me at my level of the sport, what I do is follow the rules, and what's allowed in our country I'll breed to, and what's not allowed I won't. So that's a little bit over my head at this point, because you know, it's the powers to be. I follow what the powers to be tell us to do.
Richard Lancaster is one of the big breeders around the world. What's your thoughts on this?
EFAR, actually, the International Agreement of Arabian Horse Racing, their regulations, Article 3, eligibility to race, it's there very plain what was agreed. I think Val, you were obviously involved in it. But I think you said there are 80 countries here. There are 8 signed up to this principle. So people have got to accept these agreements and stick to them, because if people start diverting from them, you get a non-sort of level playing field, which, if you want Arab racing to be taken seriously, these sort of agreements have got to be stuck to. In England, for instance, it is vital for the survival of Arab racing that we actually have a funding stream, and that, I'm afraid, comes through betting. Now, if people do not have confidence in the pedigrees of these horses, they are just going to laugh and say, well, there you are, that's a thoroughbred. These agreements were actually made, obviously, by the WAHO committee, and they should be stuck to. And it's very clear here when it says contains named horses throughout in a minimum of the first 3 generations. That was agreed and it was stuck to. I think in 2010 there were certain disagreements. A certain horse was sort of deemed to be not eligible. That horse now, some of his progeny or close progeny are appearing on the racecourse. It makes a mockery of these international agreements.
So why is that, Andrew? If it's there, it's the rules, it's in black and white. Why is this happening?
It's up to the individual countries' authorities to ensure that these agreements are stuck to. So it's a question of abiding by the rules that the organisation has laid down itself.
This is a very, very interesting one. Andrew, as a vet, what are your thoughts on this? Yes? No?
I agree totally with Richard and Val. You have your regulations in your country. You have to follow the WAHO and then your own registration and racing authority. And they must follow, in my view, the FR rules that have been agreed and the 3 generations, so that, because originally, obviously with Arabian horses, they had to, the pedigree wasn't, the previous pedigree wasn't previously known. But as we've gone more and more generations, so we know, we've used many mares, especially who the pedigree is totally known, for instance, the French mares. So we must stick to that. We must stick to knowing that we're using the pure racing Arabian bloodlines, in my view.
This is good, yes. Interesting. I'm listening to all this. I'm totally impartial. Lynn, what are your thoughts?
Me? My education on this was claiming a horse via my trainer last year that was not qualified to run in some of the races, and the rules changed on that several months later, but it was an eye-opener for me. So it's something I'm looking into and learning about.
So you actually claimed a horse thinking that you'd be able to race the horse, and a few months later in certain races, you couldn't.
Correct.
Now, what about the man at the end? Sir, what are your thoughts?
Alors, au risque de ne peut-être pas avoir bien compris la question, je vais quand même essayer de répondre. Je pense que la WAHO est un régulateur.
I'm going to try to answer the question. I think the WAHO is a regulator that is needed, and then each country do their own job in general. I think that the 3-generation rule is a good rule, and that it needs to be developed in all countries. Turkey, for example, has a rule of 5 generations. So there's no standardization throughout the world. It would perhaps be interesting to have a standard, to have common rules for all and for all countries, so that we are on equal footing. As far as filiation is concerned, I think that the labs do a great job, and that filiation control can really identify whatever impurities can get into the Arab blood.
This is getting quite interesting, isn't
it?
Because this is a fascinating subject. Anybody want to ask a question? Put your hand up if I've got one already. Guys, we'll be back. Let me just pop down here, stretch the legs at the same time. Sir, your name, where are you from, and what is your question?
I'm Ali Haddad. The question is about the registration. I agree with Khalid. Now we have a problem here. We're talking about the Arab horses, not the thoroughbreds. There is no registration to go 3-4 generations for many horses. The country there, they will bring a guy who will testify saying that yes, the sire was so and so. This is not acceptable, because if it is accepted in that country, as some of the guys said here, that every country must have their own registration, but these horses are going abroad. They're coming to other countries which are the registration is very legitimate, everything is okay. So there must be some parameters to be agreed upon between all the others, because this is Arab horses, and we don't have the registration which goes back to 100 years or 50 years. We have to be realistic.
Very, very good point. Would anybody like to respond to that? Yes, Richard.
That's why we're saying 3 generations. We accept that, you know, the Arab horse, many of them have been reared in the desert and everything. It is very difficult to go back over a long period of time. And I think that's why IFAR decided that 3 generations was the required number, so that we started from that from that point, and therefore there is a level playing field for everyone, and everyone knows exactly where they're starting from.
We have a lady at the back from France. Please tell us your name and what you do. 1 second, she's just going to say something. Okay, she's not. I'll come back to you. Sorry, 1 second. Sir.
I was talking about the authentication. That is 3 generations. I agree with you, but 3 generations. We must have some people that we can trust, that they come and say, and support their claim. It's not about how many generations. It's how we do it, that it will be legitimate, it will be real, not just somebody coming and testifying. And this is what's happening.
Thank you. Anybody else want to come in on that? We've got another question coming. Yeah.
I don't think it's a question of people testifying. I think it's just got to be there. You know, I mean, if someone thinks they've got an Arab but it doesn't fulfill it, I'm sorry, it can't be included. You've got to have that rule, because if you don't, then you get all sorts of anomalies sort of creeping into the pedigrees.
There's a lady at the back, Madame.
Bonjour, je suis éleveuse.
Hello, I'm a breeder, a lady breeder. You know what a lady breeder is? Yes, sometimes they tell us this horse is good, this horse is no good. So what are we going to do with our horses? We need to give it a thought, because it's not only having embryos and embryos, we need to sell them. So if you have 5, 6, 7, well, that doesn't work. In Arab horses, nothing is working, because 1 year a horse is good. The year after, it's the other one, and then another one disappears. So what are we going to do with our horses? We are breeders, so this is where everything starts, not by the others. I'm not speaking about the others, I don't care. But breeders, the breeders who are listening to you know that the situation is serious. Before you mentioned stallions. Okay, stallions are good, but you need good mothers. No mother, no good horse. Bye-bye.
Listen to that lady, she talks an awful lot of sense. Where is our next question coming from? Sir, would you please stand, tell us your name, your country and your question.
العراقي الشيخ عبد الرحمن من المغرب éleveur, je suis éleveur au Maroc de chevaux pur sang arabe.
I'm a breeder in Morocco of thoroughbreds, Arab thoroughbreds. I'd like to thank you all for the invitation and for inviting me to the first festival in Morocco. It was a great pride for Morocco to host this prestigious festival. I have 2 questions. One for Mr. Imran Sarsak and for Mr. Isharan Kastef. I'd like to mention inbreeding and outbreeding. You know that Arab horses have several bloods. At the beginning, French, Manganat, and then Manganat and Casmirol. And then, after that, Tunisian French, then you have Moroccan blood, and blood from the Gulf countries. So after that, we started working with Manganat. Now we are Amer. So what do you think of inbreeding and outbreeding? We are doing a lot of outbreeding, and this is the question I have for Richard Lancaster. In English thoroughbreds, it was inbreeding, and the result was good. So the result was extraordinary. would you rather have that for Arab thoroughbreds? We've started doing that in Morocco. So that was the first question. The second question is, as far as embryo transfer, I think this is an opportunity for Arab thoroughbreds because, of course, you need to choose the best mare, high-quality mare, because embryo transfer is expensive. So you need a donor, then a bearer, and then the bearer will carry the foal for many months, and then the donor will not have progeny during the whole year. I'm going to answer the question. Of course, embryo transfer is an opportunity to progress in genetics. It gives us the possibility to improve the mother's genetics. As far as inbreeding and outbreeding, this is a rather delicate question. Inbreeding started a long time ago, since the Arab breed had very few individuals, so it started in Baroud 3 in 1910, and we had mares like Nermadikasu, Badidikasu, who were great producers. The advantage of inbreeding in the Arab race, if you identify the right horses, in the history, Sangbanganat were crossed several times in France, but it takes away not quality but will to the horse. But it brings will to the Sambaoud. So you need to identify bloods that mix well, that can be that yield good results when crossed. But the results can be seen not necessarily during the first generation, but maybe the second or third. So inbreeding, I'm not against. It needs to be controlled. You mentioned inbreeding before on the Samer. So this we're getting close to. We haven't yet any results, but this inbreeding concerns me a little bit, because if the inbreeding is made between a race horse and a winning race, but he would have there would be no mares. Like he would not be the father of mares. So I would prefer inbreeding with horses that have fathers mares. Oui, je voudrais dire quelque chose. L'un de mes voisins à New Market est un éleveur de pur sang, franco, qui est dans cette activité pendant 5 ans déjà. Et je suis allée le voir la semaine passée. Et il coûte il a un cheval qui coûte 175 000 euros. Donc il produit 30 millions de livres par an parce qu'il a beaucoup de descendants et il vend beaucoup d'embryons. Oui, Salem Mahfouz. Je suis un étudiant de l'Université de Colorado. Je travaille dans l'inbreeding depuis 2003. Donc, si l'on dit que chaque pays a sa propre réglementation, je pense que, enfin, ce qu'on a, c'est un cercle qui s'élargit. Mais si chaque pays décide, comment est-ce que ces pays où les petits cycles vont donc se répandre? Ça ne va pas se passer parce que vous savez que le breeding, l'élevage, ça prend beaucoup de temps. Quelqu'un qui s'occupe d'élevage pendant 30 ans, ils reçoivent un nouveau sang, qui va payer cette personne qui a fait beaucoup de travail au niveau de l'élevage, tout spécialement sur des lignes de sang qui ont été acceptées il y a très longtemps. Alors, que va-t-il se passer lorsque les nouveaux arrivants arrivent et établissent et ceux qui étaient dans ce secteur perdent, en sortent perdants. Alors, je voulais vous demander, nous avons un étalon qui passe 25% de ses gènes à sa progéniture. Mais comment faire que toutes les personnes qui s'occupent de cette race aient la même opportunité? Alors, je ne vois pas comment ça peut marcher. C'est très intéressant. Qui voudrait répondre? Oui, lorsque nous avons souscrit l'accord international, ça nous a pris 2 ans et beaucoup de réunions. Et ce qu'on a décidé, c'est que c'était juste pour tous les pays. Il n'y a aucune raison pour laquelle un pays ne pourrait pas signer cet accord. Je sais que parfois c'est difficile parce que les courses changent beaucoup d'un pays à l'autre. Mais est-ce que vous avez lu cet accord international? Est-ce que vous avez vu cet accord international? C'est quelque chose de très simple, très facile et très juste. C'est pour cela que nous avons pensé que ça serait une approche juste pour tous les pays. C'est pour ça que nous avons donc identifié ces 3 générations. Oui, il y a encore un monsieur ici. D'où venez-vous?
على الفرس ان هذه الفرس انقلوا تاخذ منها شويه. شكرا.
Thank you. Who would like to answer that question?
Bon, eh bien, qui voudrait répondre à ça?
Généralement, on a commencé le transfert d'embryon avec des juments de race lourde, des juments qui pèsent entre 800 et 1000 kilos, en se disant quelles étaient les meilleures laitières et quelles étaient les plus à même d'élever des poulains très forts.
Strong descendants, but then the foals were too heavy, so that they couldn't grow normally. So we ended up using lighter mares.
Essentiellement des juments de course de
mares, race mares, and then we did a number of tests of bearing mares, thinking that the environmental effects and the breeding could improve the foals education, but we have not yet obtained any result. We know that technically the English thoroughbreds are less good bearers than other sports mares because they are under stress and they do not have any easier pregnancy than other mares that have are more calm and steady character.
The embryo transfer, is that what it was about.
I only got the English halfway through. I think one or two of us are just having little problems. The interpreters, if you repress if it does go off, just repress your buttons and hopefully it will click back on into place. Sorry, Richard, yes.
But picking up from what Emmanuel was saying, this embryo transfer, it's a much more difficult process than people think. They think they can go and find a mare and put an embryo in it and everything will be okay. I had a long discussion with a vet in England, and she had done an awful lot of embryo transfer work with Argentinian polo ponies. And I said to her that our experience, because we have done some embryo transfer, I mean, I'm not totally ignorant on, though I'm opposed to it. And we found in the early days when we had some mares that would not carry, that actually you put the embryo into the wrong sort of mare and you get a complete disaster. So you have to be very careful about the mares you're going to put them into. I remain opposed to it, but having actually done it as an experiment, we have sort of learnt quite a lot about the process. And one of the main things is that you have to be extremely careful about the mare that you use as the recipient mare for the embryos.
Thank you very much. There's a gentleman right in the front row. Sir, would you stand up and tell us your name and question?
Assalamu alaikum. Hilal Alawi, mudarrib.
Hilal Alaween, I'm a breeder from the Emirates. We heard all our colleagues who agree and who do not agree with this with embryo transfer. We have to consider the achievements, the results. We wish one of the supporters of the embryo transfer would convince us, and one of the opposers, we wish that he or she could convince us. During 1 minute, maybe, I would like to, for example, hear a comparison between Richard and Iman. Each one of you, we wish if he or she can give us your experience during the last year, during 1 year, the last year, for example.
We listen here about the embryo transfer. Some people against and some people with the embryo transfer. So,
keep talking, we're listening. You're right. Sir, keep talking.
Still not ready.
These French people, you know what they're like. Don't worry, he understands good English. A very interesting question, this as well. Remember, put your hands up if you want to ask a question. We will come to you. Right, I think.
Yes.
We're ready to go.
Okay. We hear about the embryo transfer here, and some people with and some people against the embryo transfer. So, for me as a trainer or as owner, in the end I need to see the achievement of this, right? So we need here to see, compare between compare achievement for the last 3 years for Mr. Emmanuel Sisak and Mr. Richard Lancaster, because Mr. Richard he's against and Mr. Emmanuel he is with. So we need to know last 3 season achievement for each of you.
Well, there you go.
Thank you.
Nice, simple question, but the man has asked it, so therefore he demands an answer. I'm going to start, because Richard's been attended to, I'm going to start with Emmanuel at the end. Emmanuel, what is your response to that question?
The truth is, first of all, thank you for a kind question. It's very important. It's very difficult to give an answer to your question because we haven't got enough time to think about and to have strategies and to have statistics, because embryo transfer, little by little, on the last 5 years, 6 years have been established, and we know first results. And embryo transfers results are not always less or more, I would say, performing than in a natural pregnancy. So I think we'll need 5 more years to have statistical results on that, reliable statistics on that, on results regarding embryo transfer. Today, we can say that in France, in Qatar, or in the Emirates, we have embryo transfers and we have excellent results in the case of those mares, but I think that we have to say it's like the best possible result obtained with the best possible mare in the world. Yes, I would simplify this.
Embryo transfer for the success last 3 seasons. Just few names.
Rabat de Carrère,
Rabat de Carrère, enough? Okay.
Ziad.
Winner of Kahila Classic is embryo transfer.
But I think, you know, always
just few names.
If you just say something. You know, what we're showing is that basically embryo transfer is a way of producing more good horses from good mares and good stallions.
Yeah, but the others against.
But again,
we need to know why.
Sorry?
Why?
Why against?
Why against? If this horse is success.
But I'm totally for embryo transfer, obviously. Because that's what we're doing, is we're producing more good horses from the good proven mares and stallions that we have.
But that's when you can start getting into a big problem, because everybody is going to want the products of those particular mares. So your gene pool is going to get smaller. The gene pool, I mean, you look at a typical example with the thoroughbred, that the gene pool, because various stallions have got very popular, your gene pool has got reduced and reduced. And if you're not careful, you'll do the same with the Arabs. I mean, it is a bit of a problem with the Arabs anyhow, because certain bloodlines are very popular and everybody naturally wants to use them. But if you start letting, you'll end up with a few very good mares being totally in demand and the rest not being used. And you could actually lose some extremely good potential broodmares who haven't necessarily been great performers, who could be very valuable in the future to the gene pool.
Khalid Al-Naboudi, you want to comment on this?
I don't think...
Excusez-moi.
Yes, Khalid, please.
Sorry, yes, sorry.
Emperor transfer. Only, like, I am one of the people who said we need to have rules for it. We need to have 1 or 2, and we need to know that if the mare has problem and can't carry the baby because age-wise and she is old. Plus, let us, talk honestly. Most of the people who is doing this, I will call it a little bit greedy, because they have the best mare and he will choose the best stallion. In the end of the day, we would like to promote Arabian horses. We need to help the young breeders, okay? And we don't need to limit ourselves with certain line of pedigree, because later down the line, we will be having problem, as the gentleman said, genetic or other things. We are with the transfer of emperor, but we need to have certain rules in it. Thank you.
Yes, Val and Mohammed. You go first and then Mohammed.
Okay, sorry.
Merci, moi je suis... Excuse-moi.
Sorry. Go first, you first, thank you.
Lady first.
Thank you. I had a mare visit one of the stallions I managed this year to be bred naturally. She was bred 3 times, nothing, didn't get involved. So I decided to look up her performance record on the France Gallo website, or the Harris National website. She'd been bred during her life She had been bred 12 times, but she only produced 2 foals. But each time it was an embryo transfer. For her first pregnancy, she wasn't even allowed to carry that foal herself. And Emmanuel's often said to me, because we work very closely together, always let them carry their first foal if you're going to do an embryo transfer. She'd never carried her foal herself, and she'd been bred 12 times. I looked at last year's record for 2017. She had had 4 embryos taken from her, from 4 different stallions, and none of them were successful. So this mare still hasn't got a foal. They've obviously probably ruined her for life.
Wow, wow. That is interesting.
She's only ever had embryo.
Please, the microphone.
About you're with or you're against the embryo transfer?
I'm not 100% against. In the right circumstances, for veterinary reasons, on an old mare or a mare that's injured and cannot carry a foal to full term, I don't mind.
But maybe when they tried to do the embryo transfer, the vet problem, the vet was the problem. Wasn't the mare itself?
I don't know.
Of course, no. It can't happen that 4 same time with the same mare. This means if this is the same vet, means there's a problem with the vet.
But she's had 12 embryos taken from her, and only 2 have been viable in her whole breeding career. A very good race mare as well.
It's an interesting
Can we know the name of the mare?
Oh, no, I'm not. That's confidential.
Good question.
That's client confidentiality.
I love it. Mohammed, you wanted to come in.
Moi, je suis personnellement un fervent supporter de...
I'd like to say that I use embryo transfer quite a lot. I'm in favor of embryo transfer, and I'd like to say in this case that in favor of Arab race, I think that anyway, I would like to say that technically speaking, we have to do it in a reasonable way. Technically speaking, I'd like to talk about a friend of mine that's one of the best breeders in the Arab world, and I'm not going to mention his name. We were talking about the approach philosophically. We were talking about, and he said, I would never, ever have embryo transfer. And now, today, he is the one. He is in favor of that. He is doing that. And it's someone you know very well. And he is now using embryo transfer, and he's in favor of that. Yeah, I am talking about a person who's well known in the Arabic world and the Arab world, and perhaps the person is here. No, but you are saying that this person was against embryo transfer, and now he is in favor of embryo transferring. Yes, and at a given moment, he decided to change gears. We started with embryo transfers, and at a given point in time, he said, he said at the beginning he was against, and now he is in favor of the technique. But let's talk about something else. Moving ahead, do we have a world authority? Do we have a world authority able to say we're going to have the same rules and regulations worldwide? I don't think so. I don't think so. We have breeders everywhere, all over the world, and the truth is that we wish to have the best possible technique, the best possible examples. You go to France and you have authorized embryo transfer, and as many as necessary, as many embryos as necessary. That has allowed me to have different lines and to work along 3 years and to have the best combinations and to have the best possible combinations. And that offers possibilities, that opens new possibilities. I could have, for instance, the possibility of sending to the Emirate. I would like to do, I can do this. It is exactly like sending the mare to Qatar or to other countries. It is exactly like what you do when you get sperm, when you transfer the semen from stallions, and you go this, and you transfer this from one country to another. You have to do it seriously. Embryo transfer, if you say it is against the Arabic pure sang or thoroughbred, I would say I would be against if it were negative. But I think it's very interesting. I think it's very interesting you say, but you have to change gears. You have to change the stallion each time. We have, for instance, Damak. You know, there's a mare that's very famous, and with Yazid, you know, with Mora, you know, embryo transfer technique. Next year, 4 embryos from 4 different stallions, and then all of a sudden we saw that the best possible combination in the case of Dama with the blood of Moody's, and we have excellence of stallions there. It is something that gets better results with this for the breeder. We know that we have a Franco-American approaches, transfers, and we have to say that it is best when you do with one than with another. So that allows me to have a genetic selection to know with which stallion I would try to reproduce this, and then this will be enriching the genetic capital, and in case of Alderman, it is multiplied by the combination with several stallions. Embryos transfer, as I would say, it's a market nowadays. Embryo transferring is a market in Mora. You have 30 embryos that are for sale, or even prior to mating. So we're going to do it prior to the real conception. It's a market that's been developing and that allows to certain people, I'm not going to mention names because that's confidential, but there is a diversification, selection and improvement, and we have the possibility that diversifying, genetically speaking, and those people have, for instance, contacted people in France and in some other countries and have paid a lot of money for getting the possibility of getting the oocytes and to have that and to enrich the genetic potential with a different blood, a different genetic pool, and I think it is interesting. I am mentioning this as a technician, not as a market expert. Of course, there are some market characteristics, and that's reserved to those people that have the money to buy the best possible material. But it is important to say that even if you have the best possible mare worldwide, and I can give names, Wintawi, from Dr. Daberio, and now she has had 2 abortions and gave us 9 embryos along 3 years, and the first one got a prize in Rome last year. Then we have other mares, Analuf from Aldama, and thanks to genetic transfer we have excellent results and winners at horse racing, and I think that there are many transfers with a lot of success. I think it is interesting to know that high genetic potential should give the heritage of many offsprings, as many as possible. So I think I'm talking about the technique, and we have to have some ethical aspects to have this into consideration. We have the technique, we have the possibility, let's do it with ethics, let's change stallion each time, and then at each mating this will allow us to progress genetically speaking, and thanks to embryo transfer we can just shorten the gap between generations, because if you wait, for instance, Sibylla Marie, and it's now at year 7, she's starting, and we have the first product stemming from that, and this will take place within 4 years. The mare will be 11 years of age. So thanks to embryo transfer, we can shorten the gap, we can shorten the genetic intervals, and we can quantify this to improve performance. Thank you.
To this question, Mr. Belushi from Oman.
I think that I believe that the equestrian authorities or the organizations must interfere. We must establish a legal framework to the embryo transfer. We must avoid monopoly, because if we focus on one stallion or one mare, it might lead to a kind of monopoly, to a kind of interference in business or commercial issues. Hassan al-Musali, as you said, was really against this operation, and he focused on mothers like, or mares like Arwa, who are old mares who really need actually embryo transfer. We must focus on mares or who would carry and who have a certain health. We must establish criteria for this also. But if we allow embryo transfer in a chaotic way without any legal framework, this might cause actually problems. For example, Mizna had 5 embryos in 1 year. Many horses in 1 year or 3 or 4. I think we must establish laws, we must establish regulations. This is very important. If we look into thoroughbreds, if we look into purebreds, there are many stallions that are present, and we also have mares that are available. We must ask the Arabian horse organizations and authorities to interfere in order to regulate this operation and to establish a legal framework, and also to justify an embryo transfer. And this would be done in cooperation with local organization in each country. And thank you.
What's your name? Where are you from?
Ahmed, sorry,
I'm so sorry.
انتوا بعمان ما عندكم.
In Oman, you don't have embryo transfer. No, we do not actually. In the entire country, Oman is still starting this kind of operations. We have we have specialists, experts in embryo transfer. We have experts in in vitro inbreeding, but this operation is still really, there are scarce operations. We do not have embryo production. We do not have concrete examples of breeding and of embryo transfer. I am a breeder from Oman. I address my question to my colleagues and brothers in the session. We do face a problem in the Sultanate of Oman. We face a harsh climate in summer, which might hinder the breeding. The breeding would happen between February and March in a relatively very short period. So we face this problem. All horses and or mares or stallions that are not able to produce or to fertilize during the summer. So that means that we have a very short period for breeding. And during November or December, the breeding operations are more frequent. And my question is especially addressed to Mr. Khalid Nabouda and Mr. Ahmed Al-Balouchi, and of course the rest of the participants. I want you to help us solving this problem. Thank you.
I mean, in the Gulf, as I am one of the breeders, the season we have is very short, and it will be very good if the authority can change this and add 2 months more, like the show horses, where they start their breeding in October. So this will give the foal much time in winter, let us say in our winter, that he can grow and become much strong, better than foaling the mare in March or in April, where he will be hit with the summer. If they can do this, is very good.
It's a very, very good call. Sir, in the front row, would you please stand? Your name?
My name is Khalil Dababne from Al Wathba Stables. Tomo, it's not a question, it's a suggestion for you. We've heard lots of opinions. People are with the embryo transfer and people are against the embryo transfer. And those who are with it, they are talking about regulations. I would suggest that to use this forum and the panel over here to start an initiative on what are the regulations that these gentlemen and ladies are looking for regulating the embryo transfer for the future.
Can I
We touched on that earlier on because, Val, you're very good on rules and regulations.
answer that question? Or can I ask everybody a question?
Yeah, you're ready.
Who would like a control on embryo transfer and certain rules put forward to control it? Yeah?
Yep, I've counted them.
It can be done.
Yes, but that was only half the room.
Val, I think I'm right in saying, Tomo, I think I'm right in saying that actually IFAR do actually have
they do,
regular.
yeah.
Article 4 refers to embryo transfer.
So we have the rules in place. Why is it not implemented? That is the question. Why, if we have the rules in place, why is it not being implemented?
But I think that...
Sir, Andrew, yeah, please.
I hear a lot of sort of excited rhetoric about embryo transfer as if it's some terrible thing. It's basically a way of improving your breeding, of being able to produce more horses in a shorter time, or use mares which have some breeding problem to get foals from them. And can anybody give me an example, a negative example about embryo transfer in Arabian racing? Because I don't know of any. Does anybody have a negative example? There's all this about regulation, or you're going to have 9. There's no cases of 9 horses coming in the same race, or the exact sibling.
Well, actually, the regulation, as per the IFAR, actually states that you can't do that.
Yeah.
You can only have one, I think, out of each mare per race.
I think in some countries they allow
is that, Val, is that, I think that's having scanned through here.
Here we go.
Here Richard. We go. However, it's agreed that no 2 horses born in the same breeding year with the same dam shall be allowed to run in the same race, irrespective of the sire being different. And that's been signed up by 8 countries.
Well, there you have it. It's in black and white. Unless I get it. We have a... Sir, what is your name?
Sorry.
Just 1 second, sir. We have a question coming in.
Great panel, by the way. I'm against it, to be honest with you. I've ridden many good racehorses that have been embryo transfer and many that haven't. But what I would like today to ask a question, and this is more directed to those of you that are for it, is how your opinion is on embryos being taken out of mares that are still in training, that are still racing.
That's an
because
interesting
this,
point.
I would be against. I'd just like to see your opinion on how it affects their ability to run.
That's a good question.
Well,
what
the
are your
mare
thoughts
I
on
was
that?
telling you about, that was the case.
So she was still in training while... Yeah. That's a very good call. That's from a champion jockey of the United Arab Emirates, putting that point. Anybody else want to answer that? It's a good question.
Well, I know of cases of, mares when they're in the off-season, but still running, having embryos removed, and they still ran well afterwards. I wouldn't say there's a large number, but the one or 2 I know about, it didn't affect them at all. But it wasn't actually during the season when they were actually racing, it was in the off-season when they were racing.
M. Lancaster a parlé de réglementation supposée.
I think that rules and regulations were supposed to be respected worldwide, but this is not the case anymore. This is not the case nowadays. There are countries that are writing their own rules or regulations. In Morocco, they say 3 embryos per mare, and okay, they could even compete in the same race. In other, it is that you cannot have the same. 2 animals stemming from the same stallion and the same then mare competing at the same race. But you have to convince me. Why? Why? That's not a reason. Tell me a reason. Give me a reason. Why? Why can we say that we're putting at stake the race? Why are you saying that we need to do it in the case of this Arabian thoroughbred? So the pure sang Arabe. So 30 seconds and to give an answer to the question.
People, otherwise it wouldn't have been in the IFAR agreement. I mean, you know, that's basically what it, you know, I mean, these agreements presumably were drawn up by people, an international selection of people, and you know, once you have these agreements, they've got to be stuck to. You can't have people then saying, well, I don't like that, I'll change the rules.
We have a question from this gentleman in the second row, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. Abdullah al-Mansouri.
Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah Mansouri. I have two observations. First observation is even if the laws, there's an international law that restricts the number to 2 embryo transfers for 1 mare. So the second observation, we demand that the embryo transfer must not done from an Arabian stallion to another one. Some breeders might say that this horse is registered as an Arabian horse or a thoroughbred. We must follow the law that says that an Arabian mare, the embryo transfer must be done in an Arabian mare.
I'm totally for that. However, if it's affecting or abusing the mare, then this is a no-no. I agree with Val on this. My question is for Mr. Lancaster. Talking about all of these breeding techniques that we have, including artificial insemination, frozen semen, embryo transfer, do you think that if we don't have these techniques now and we go back to the originals, just like the thoroughbreds, will the value of Arabian horses increase if we take it from a point of like an economic point of view, supply and demand? Do you think it's going to increase or no?
If you have one mare that is a very good producer and she has a number of individual offspring, people are going to pay a lot of money for them. If she's going to, but the money will probably be less than if she produces one, which is obviously nearly a unique specimen. So therefore, there's going to be a much greater demand for it.
We have another question coming in. We're running out of time. Thank you for that, sir.
Abdullah Yusuf al-Nakbi من الإمارات مولد خيل. سؤالي للأخوة الأفاضل.
My question is for my colleagues. If I put the embryo in the mare and the original mare will have different volume, different size. So what do you think about this? نعم نحن نفعل ذلك.
Thoroughbred mares, yes, you will get bigger baby, okay, but in the end of the day, the one from his mother, it will cut short. I mean, he will be little bit bigger as a size-wise, but the genetic, it will be same.
Very interesting. There's a gentleman at the back standing up with the microphone, sir.
محمد الشامسي منتج ومدرب خيول عربية من دولة الإمارات.
Trainer from the United Arab Emirates. First of all, about the conversation we are taking, we have to, how can we change the rules that any person follows, the breeders, the trainers, and all this. I have some productions through natural ways. and through insemination, artificial insemination. And I observed the production, the difference, there is big differences in the size, even in the articulations. I have a horse that was broken during the training sessions, and the second procreation, the broken horse was transferred to another breeders. But if you wanted to have reproduction 8 times from the same mare, I respect his convenience, but if we calculate it, commercially speaking, we like original Arabian Arabs and we wanted to conserve it, to develop it, but not in this way. I agree with some of my friends here that he defends to have 2 times procreation, and we need some regulations from the International Federation and the veterinaries to speak about this, because their vision will be medical one. But the trader and the people who participate in racing has another vision.
Sir.
Tomo, while we're waiting, can I just make a point about going back to the embryo transfer? I think the gentleman over there made a very good point. When you transfer that egg into another mare, the environment of which that foal is going to develop is obviously not the same as the womb of which it would have actually developed in its mother. So let's be realistic about it. You're probably going to get something that is actually not an absolute replica of the one that the mother is carrying, because it is living in a completely different environment.
Good answer to that. Sir, your question, we're running out of time. We've got 2 questions left. Sir, quickly.
Sultan Hosni, breeder and owner. من خلال هذا المؤتمر نحن نسعى لتشجيع.
This conference, we encourage the creation and the breeding of Arabian horse, but we need from only one mare and its reproduction. How can, as a breeder, to reproduce 8 times a year? How can I support small breeders when you are at the same country? I think the law should forbid the procreation from only one mare to participate in the same racing. This is a very good question.
Laura, you want 1 second? We will bring you a microphone. There's gentleman right behind you. It is a very good question. You know, a lot of these people are big breeders. Laura, there are other people here who want a question as well.
I have to answer one question.
I'll let you have one.
Yes. How are you, Derek? You're fine? You look good with the yellow and green of the Sheikh Mansour Festival with your cravat.
That's why I wore it.
Bravo. Can we have a big applause for Derek, because he chose a good color for himself. I will speak in Arabic. سؤال.
My question to Mr. Sultan. Can you focus on your camera on Mr. Sultan? Thank you. Sultan, today you say you are a new owner and you doesn't like the participation from the same mare in the same racing. So you can't, by law, to make participation from the same mother, the same mare. And we have to stop all this, because they say this procreation are from the same mare. So when you breed them, can they participate in the same racing together? There are some laws that forbid this. You have to determine at the beginning, and you have regulations in this issue, because before believing or offering something, this result today, we are speaking today about this, and we can say they will race all together, but we can't allow 5 breeders to participate in the same racing.
He has got the microphone, please, sir. He's had his hand up and down for the last 3 hours. Sir, your name?
Dr. Sedrati from Morocco. I want to put closer the opponents to the embryo transfer and the ones who are interested. First, if we compare what we do with the Arabian horses to the thoroughbred, we have to know that the thoroughbred has 250 years of selection. And the Arab horses has begun, let's say, within this 50 or 60 years ago. So it is important to see how to do the best genetics very fast to have good Arabian race horses. There is another problem. Another problem is today it's accepted to do artificial insemination and embryo transfer. You have to know that if you try to develop races in 90 countries, we must put them in the same level of trials. It doesn't mean that the good stallions are somewhere and the others which are in Australia or Morocco or everywhere else cannot profit by the new genetics. It's why I say it is important, as a producer of embryo transfer, that there is no touch in the genetics of a mare, of a great mare, when it is put in bearing mare. There is no genetic problem. And now we can see why Her Highness Sheikh Fatma will say why a stallion can have 100 foals and the mare cannot have 4 or 5 foals in the same year. That's my question.
Thank you very much. And sir, one final point. We're literally running out of time because we're live on Yas TV. Sir, would you stand up? The gentleman, Stefano, what is your question at the back? Sir, this has to be the final question.
Yeah, good morning. Mine is more a statement than a question. Dr. Stefano, I'm a vet and on a very small scale an owner and a breeder of Arabian horses. I think we are losing the direction. First of all, there's a big difference between artificial insemination and embryo transfer. We are talking about to give everybody in any country the same possibilities. That's why we accepted to artificial insemination. Embryo transfer is taking us to somewhere else. I completely agree on Richard Lancaster. A horse, like any other entity, is done by a genetic combination and environmental combination. The recipient mare is not exactly what a mare is done. Breeding, in my opinion, only in my humble opinion, is an art based on knowledge, intuition, and a natural course. With embryo transfer, we are losing the way. That's only my opinion.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your comments. It has been an absolutely enthralling session. Can I say thank you to this incredible, all the top breeders who've been with us. Can we give them a great big round of applause? Absolutely wonderful. And if you've got any more thoughts on this subject, don't forget we've got the workshop on Friday afternoon. Lara will be live on stage with Tomo. You can fire all the questions, so bear these in mind. It is time now for lunch. Morhaf is going to do the official photograph, but plenty still to come. We're live on Yas TV in Madrid, in Spain. Omar, where are you?
I mean, that's what that's what's so ridiculous about it.
الأولى في المؤتمر اليوم اللي كانت بعنوان التوليد في الخيول العربية الأصيلة وآخر التطورات التي حدثت مع نهاية هذه الجلسة التي من الممكن أنها تكون جلسة حظيت بالكثير من النقاش الثري والأسئلة التي كانت يجب أن تسأل في وقت من الأوقات. مشاهدينا الكرام، محمد تعال خلينا نسلم عليك. ما رحبنا فيك، ما شفناك من اول ما جيت، كيف الحال؟
اهلين اخوي عمر، شو الاخبار؟
عساك بخير.
طيب
من يوم امريكا، من يوم ديربي سانتا أنيتا، كيف الامور؟
والله الحمد لله، المهرجان جميل اليوم، افتتاح اليوم الجلسه الاولى، المنتجين استفدنا بصراحه من المتواجدين جميعا، معلومات مثيره ونقاشات كانت جدا مميزه.
شفناك جالس في الصف الاول وهذا شيء يعني يدل انك مهتم، يعني حضرت حتى كنت من الحضور من اوائل الحضور. بس محمد، شنو الجلسه اللي تثير اهتمامك؟ شنو الجلسه اللي انت حريص انك تكون موجود فيها؟
لو تلاحظ اخوي عمر، المهرجان الجلسه اليوم بدايه عن المنتجين، بعدها جلسه الفرسان، غدا جلسه الاعلام، مهرجان سمو الشيخ منصور، ملتقى الخيل العربيه يضم جميع الاركان الاساسيه.
شو اللي يهمك منهم؟ اكثر واحده تبي تسمع فيها؟
ممكن جلسه المدربين، جلسه الاعلام غدا، راح اكون مشارك في الجلسه بكره.
يا ويلك، عندي اسئله.
حاضرين ان شاء الله. الله يخليك.
شكرا لمحمد النعيمي. طبعا مشاهدينا الكرام، سنواصل الحديث. عندنا الان فاصل، سنعود بعد ساعه من الان استراحه الغداء. بعد ساعه من الان ان شاء الله سنعود لمواصله الحديث وانطلاق الجلسه الثانيه النقاشيه.